of the state. Whatever state you're in, they're going to register you. Your birth certificate is a warehouse receipt. They got you. So we can talk all the consciousness we want until we start to understand political status and start to understand that if we don't change our political status, we are slaves. There's a saying that says there's no one more hopelessly enslaved than the man that falsely believes that he is free. We're walking around here thinking that we're free and we're not. Because our political status, I don't care what community, consciousness, unconscious you come from, everybody in here raised their hand. They said they either had a birth certificate, some kind of license, or something that tied them to the state. Whatever state that was they were born in, it could have been Georgia, it could have been New York, it could have been Virginia. It doesn't make a difference. We're all tied to that. So what we felt, or we were led to do by the Holy One of Israel, is to follow prophecy and to start to put in place a political authority, or from the Most High, a authority that would give us a nation that we could claim, that we could start issuing our own birth certificates, start issuing our own licenses, start issuing our own marriage certificates, and start to operate as an autonomous group of people. So the United Nations of Israel is a government in exile, claiming the scriptural Nile to the Euphrates, and put on the record in all 50 states and in the United States government that we are standing up and claiming our heritage, our birthright name, and our nationality. That's it, period, end of story. People can say, oh, well, you can't do that. They're not going to let you do that. We didn't ask them for their permission. What we did is we took international law and understand that if you give someone, well, let's go back. People hear about the UCC. That whole concept is based on one rule of law. If someone makes you an offer, you have to accept that offer and make a conditional offer. If you do nothing, you've accepted that. You have acquiesced. That's a tacit agreement between you and the offering party. So when they made you an offer of a birth certificate and your parents took it, they accepted that contract. There's nothing that anybody can say about it. They've accepted the contract. You are a ward of the state. And if you want to challenge it, go to them. I'm going to tell you, this is a real story. My mother is suffering from dementia. And she was trying real hard to be self-sufficient and whatnot. And we were trying to let her live on her own. But, you know, the police would call me and say, is your mother Jean Corey? I said, yes, sir. She's wandering around and doesn't know where she is. You know, and you know, so we had to go get her several times. And finally they just said, look, if you guys don't, do something, and we were like, Mom, you're losing it. Oh, I'm fine, I raised you, I sent you to college, and blah, blah, blah. You know, in the moment, she can argue a point. Very intelligent, 2 master's degrees, but that disease took hold. So we had to go to the court. We couldn't do anything until we went to the court, and we had to get guardianship. The state said, we control your mother's assets, we control everything about her. She is a ward of the state. And if you want to have guardianship, it has to be granted to you by the court. It doesn't make any difference that it's my mother. It doesn't make any difference that, we want to rally around her. They said, if you don't come in here and go through the court proceedings and convince us with medical records and documents that she is not competent to take care of herself, we will put her in a mental institution and there's nothing you can do about it. We're like, whoa, we'll take her, we got her. But they were like, if you don't come into this courtroom, we don't care what your family says, she's a ward of the state. Everything about her belongs to us. And they weren't playing. That judge sat right behind that podium, and my mother was like, no, sir, I put these boys in college and I knew what, blah, 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 but we had to present medical evidence, and it was the hardest thing that we ever had to do, because in the moment, she can argue her point. But when we leave, she fall asleep at a stoplight, and a cop car pulled up behind her, and she wouldn't know how she got there, where she was. I mean, we just had to just take her to court and get the permission of the state that we could take care of her and, you know, start to have the legal paperwork. People say, oh, you don't need paperwork. We had to have legal paperwork from the state of Virginia to handle my mother's affairs. That was proof positive to me that they own us. You can't go take your own parent and take care of her affairs if she starts to lose her capacity or his capacity without going through the state. Does anybody not believe that? I'm telling you what I've been through. They will, you know, I mean, now after we went to court and that, you know, that white judge put his gavel down and says, you know, the court of Virginia, you know, declares you to be mentally incompetent and gives guardianship over to, you know, it was my brother at that time, David Corey, and he now has legal rights. So now he can go to the bank. He has power of attorney. He can do anything that has to do with her affairs because he now has the appropriate status and permission from an authority to take care of her affairs. Right. Now, that's real. We can mentally put our head around it. But what you don't mentally put your head around is that you don't have control of your own affairs. You're a ward of the state. You're chattel property. The Dred Scott decision said that anyone of African descent is not and could never be a citizen of the United States of America. Look it up for yourself. Dred Scott versus Sanford. So, if you can't be a citizen of the United States, then what are you?
Citizen?
That's the Constitution says that you're property. That was upheld by the Dred Scott decision. They said you couldn't be a citizen. So what they did is they did a little trickery, sleight of hand. They basically took something called the 14th Amendment and made you a second-class citizen because a white man in America is a sovereign citizen. He's attached to the land. He's attached to whatever state he's in, okay? And he's sovereign.
I can ask a question?
You sure can.
Isn't the white man from North Africa?
Isn't the white man from North Africa? Is that what you just asked?
According to Federal Directive 15, isn't a white man an original, is a part that has origins in the original people of North Africa, or the Middle East, or Europe? And what white man is the original person of any of those countries, or any of those continents?
Well, I'm going to, you know, see if one of my panelists, because I don't try to dabble in areas that I don't know. I don't know what article you're talking about. Can anybody address that?
Federal Directive.
It's a man right there.
Well, he's speaking about Federal Directive 15. And the federal, it's long. The federal directive pretty much determines the racial classification of people in the United States of America. And in this federal directive, they have black, white, Hispanic, Asian or Pacific Islander, Native American or American Indian. Within each one of these categories, there are nations or geographical territories. When you go to the U.S. Census Bureau site, it tells you that these classifications are not based upon anything scientific or anthropologic in nature. For instance, I don't mean to cut into your time.
Brother, you do your thing. With permission.
This cell phone is black. See, my position is the most adverse out of all positions here because I am not a black person at all. But this cell phone is black. Everybody in this room can see this cell phone. Everybody in this room can see that my skin is a brownish hue. This is just an actual fact. Simple psychology. So when you're looking at the federal directive says for black, any of the black racial groups from the continent of Africa. Just any of the black races.
Use that mic. I think that one's cutting in now.
Yeah, Islam. So we have to remember that we are right here in the United States of America. To get to the brother's question about who is white, it says for white people, anybody that has origins of the original people. That's a key phrase in that particular definition of North Africa, Europe, and Arabia. And we know that the European does not have origins in any of those places originally. So it lets it be known to us that white is a status, and that the very thing that we're fighting for is a mere illusion. I don't want to get too deep into this right now. I want to let the brother finish, but I did, they asked me to respond to that particular question. Let me get a piece of this paper real quick. Let me just see something. This paper is white. This is a white piece of paper. I've never seen a European who had skin this color. Their color ranges from a palish pink to an orangish color, while our skin tone ranges from a dark Tootsie Roll brown to a tannish complexion. We have been accustomed to using our own minds to trick our own eyes. And with that, I'm going to yield and let the speaker finish going in and doing what he does. Speak.
Yeah, no, I mean, here's the beauty. I have no problem using the floor to that king over there. See, because I understand, in my other life where I was a Moor, I had a Bay added to the end of my name, and I respect Moor science to the utmost. Have my own fairs and the whole works. But it's a journey. We go through different times and different phases, different seasons for different reasons. So we are showing mutual respect for everybody in the panel, because this brother is my brother, because we all, this might be a little bit of a debate, but would you say we all come from the seed of Abraham?
I would say we all come from the seed of Allah, or the Most High, or Yahweh, or Theos, or whatever term people find appropriate. I don't know what my brother right here might call it.
Well, we can say this. We all got common enemies.
We all got common. We can definitely say that.
We can say that. Yeah.
We can definitely say that. I didn't want to get into the whole thing. My son is a rapper, and he's got a song that says the original man is white, and because we taught him that white is a status. But again, that just gets so deep that I just didn't even want to go there. But but here's the point, and I'm not going to just give me one second, because I'm actually going to kind of wrap up, because what I want to do is I want to point people to information, okay? Because let me tell you right now, no one is going to change their mind today. I hope that you just take in information and start to consider the matters at hand. And then I hope no one walks away and say, oh, that brother won and he was the best, and that brother lost, because it's not about winning and losing. It's about us coming together as a people, that if we all, believing something different, can leave, share, break bread together, hug and embrace each other, and decide to come back and do this again, we've all won. See, there are no losers in this. You know what I'm saying? So, I want to point you to some information. We have a website. It's called YahWillGather.us. YahWillGather.us, not .com. But if you put in YahWillGather.org, it will redirect to the same place. YahWillGather, let me tell you about it. YahWillGather.us or .us or YahWillGather.org. Okay? At that site, I want you to go to two places in particular. I want you to go to Watch and Listen. It'll be on the left-hand side. There's two navigation bars, one across the top, one across the left on the left-hand side. Click on Watch and Listen. Click on Sovereign and Nationality. On that page is a self-study course that teaches you about the UCC1, what a straw man is, what a redemption is, all kinds of information about the B system, about the Social Security system, about all the things that, about your birth certificate. Teaches you what your birth certificate actually is. All of that is on that website. It's a self-study course. Go there. Then also across the top, it'll say gov.documents, and there you'll find our documents for the sovereignty that we declare. Okay, we have a divine charter and constitution. We have information there that gives the organizational structure of our government. We have information there that has a judicial notice and proclamation that we have put on record with all 50 Secretary of States across the United States. It talks about birthright names, and the very first ones on there are Bay and L. We're trying to embrace all of our brothers because we understand that we have a nobility, titles of nobility that go along with our true birthright names. All of those things you can find on the website. I would like for you to take some time to do your research. Please do your due diligence. Don't just go running down behind anything that anybody tells you. If you can't defend it and stand on it, then it's not yours. It's somebody else's. All right? You had your hand on my brother?
Yeah. I'm seeing that the nationality movement and the quest for autonomy or independence as a nation is not a new struggle. I mean, that information has been out. What makes your approach different or more effective than the other methods that have been out? Because we know other organizations have attempted to implement the same type of sovereignty methodology that you're speaking of, and they've been unsuccessful. What makes yours more effective?
Well, I would like to honor the question, but I would like to maybe modify it a little bit. I'm not going to say that the other ones were not effective. We built what we're doing on the backs of the brothers who came before us. So what we like to think of it as an extension of, like I said, I have a Moorish ID. I quickly give props to all my Moorish brothers because when my son came home and said, Daddy, hey, I'm not nickel, rack, or colored, I'm a Moor, blah, 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 and I was like, but, along with that, he was like a little radical. I'm going to get the cops the finger, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm like, whoa, let's calm down. Let's kind of consider the matter together. You're 19 years old, so I'm going to respect the fact that you may be bringing me something of value. So let's consider it together. And we went down the path of looking into it. And that was what got me on the path of consciousness. And, we went through that, Circle 7, the Quran, the whole thing. We studied that for years, and we just kept moving through a process. So, to answer your question, now that I've sort of reframed it a little bit, we're building on the shoulders of our brothers to bring something that is specific to our culture. Because this is about culture for us. We have a land, a language. We have, things that are specific and unique to us. When I went through the process of Amur, my first question was, after I started to look into it, was, what's our nationality? And that was a question that I could never really get answered. I stopped looking after a while, and then I said, well, I'm going to go the path of an Israelite because I can see that my nationality is, I'm from the nation of Israel. The landmass is something that was granted by the Most High to our forefathers, a landmass between the Nile and the Euphrates. So we put together, based on international law, a government in exile. We know that there are countries that already claim those places that we say are our inheritance, but that's not new. If you look up government in exile on the internet, you'll see a whole list of countries and flags and everything of governments in exile. That's not a new thing. So what we did is we just took what our brothers had done in Moorish science and tweaked it and made it specific to the culture of an Israelite. So, I'm not saying they're winning in court every day. I've got YouTube videos of my Moorish brothers winning in court every day. So I would not say that what they have done has failed. I would say that certain people implement it in ways that are not successful for them at the moment, and they can be absolutely right in everything they're doing, and that white judge will say, guilty, get out of my courtroom, or, I have jurisdiction over you. No, you don't, and you can state all the laws in the world. They can still do wrong. You know, so all we're saying is we're going to stand on the shoulders of our brothers. Ours is culturally specific. It doesn't say Allah or anything else, which that's not a problem, but we wanted something that said Yahweh. So we put in our documents anywhere they may reference any other deity, we took that out, we put Yah. All right? But we tried to embrace all the other brothers and sisters in our documents as well. So we tried to be inclusive, but specific to our cultural understanding. So I don't know if that answers your question.
You basically are declaring and creating your own sovereignty based on Israel, based on Israel.
We made a declaration. We did a judicial notice of proclamation for the nation itself, and we did individual declarations of our sovereignty and our nationality and our birthright name under the laws of Torah. So everything in our documents references Yahweh, references Torah, and then it gives references to UN declarations of a child, or it's a lot of different documents to be referenced in there. We stand on the fact that we are constitutional nationals versus state sovereignty. We went with the whole of America, because we are on a dual nationality platform. We're non-citizen American nationals, and we're sovereign nationals of Israel. So just like a Chinese person come over here, and his name could be some long name you can't pronounce, but they'll give him a license and they'll say Johnny Wong. All right, well, Johnny Wong is a legal person, but so is, that's his Chinese name, and he's a Chinese national. But he also has an ID that says Johnny Wong. They're both legal documents. He's operating under dual nationality. So we took the same model, because all of us got to go to work today. I mean, I can be Abraham bin Levi Israel, but my driver's license says Charles Corey. But under the UCC, I have redeemed that. So now Abraham bin Levi is a secured party creditor, and Charles Corey is a debtor, and I deal with him as a debtor. We go to court, we present ourselves as our sovereign person, and then we say we have a power of attorney to address everything that you want to deal with in a corporate fiction. And guess what? We're winning. So, but we're just building on the backs of brothers who were doing it long before we started. So that's what we're doing. All right, well, I'm going to release the mic. I'm good. I'm going to go to the next person. They can go to the website. They can see me afterwards, or I can answer any questions when we get to the Q&A.
Information you can use, and definitely after we're done with Q&A, we're going to set up, and the brother's going to have things and special things. I know you can talk with Kalanji about FTP. You can talk with Uncle Keck about the real black atheists. Talk with our elder about the UNY. So it's people that you can consult with and talk with and deal with on different levels. We also have Inky out there, but health consultant. If you have something, you got something bothering you, an ailment, go outside, talk to Minister Inky. He has some stuff that maybe you can take to cure some of the stuff, because it ain't in the medicine. We know that's fraudulent. That's death in a bottle. So our brothers are creating their own thing and their own enterprise. So we basically have something to give to the community. Right now, I want to call up my brother to keep it rolling. I know is definitely a friend of mine. It may seem like he isn't, but he really is. My brother, Uncle Keck, a true brother. Come on up, my brother. You want to do it?
Black African power, people. Man, this is very, very interesting. Got my man, Lord Aberquanzi, with Brother Inky. Man, we got a lot of people that we've been going back and forth with. Man, we got King Nova. What's up, brother? You hit him with that hard question. Yeah. It's very, very interesting. And you're looking at me saying, well, how in the hell is he an atheist? I'm not an atheist. I'm a real black atheist. And when I say that, I mean that, because right here what I have is a book of over 2,500 world deities. There's no escaping this. And every human being on the planet has the right to deify their culture. No man, no woman can tell them different. And so we must understand that, being a very diverse African population, but of course I can back the word Africa up. The brother Asahotep wrote this book. It's called The Bacala Tribe of North America. And he goes into detail of the origins of the word Africa, right? But never here or there. We're talking about the black family. And since we're talking about the black family, then let's talk about the black family. Let's recognize that the black family existed in a non-religious environment first. And there's no getting away from that. And so what we'll do is we'll start right off with Sheikh Anta Diop's work. Let me kind of tell you who Sheikh Anta Diop is. All right, you hear me? So we got Sheikh Anta Diop, right? So we recognize we ain't coming with a bunch of, I call it tomfoolery. You're just making up stuff as you go with no references, no resources. Right, Dr. Diop, internationally acclaimed historian, trained Egyptologist. He's a physicist, a linguist, and a political activist. Okay, he's a physicist, right? Go ahead, say that, brother.
Physicist.
Oh, hey, there you go, brother. A physicist. Appreciate that, brother. So, he also owned his own radiocarbon dating lab. Right? That's how you date certain fossils. Some people might have problems with that scientific process. And I understand that. But they've definitely upgraded on that. But this brother here, he detailed the black family. Because that's what we're talking about, right? You got to know the black family goes back farther than just maybe 6,000 or 3,000 years. Y'all should know that. Right? And so we come to chapter 5, right? And it's talking about the clanic tribal organization. It says the clanic organization, right? In that it is formed on a taboo of incest, makes the beginning of civilization, the human being no longer simply a biological animal. His sexual relations are henceforth dependent upon a very strict social regulation. Well, that's what happened to us in the transcontinental slave trade. I call we was kidnapped victims. They destroyed our social structure, and they replaced it with global European racism, white supremacy. We must recognize that. And so we understand that the original clans start out as clans, maybe a clan no larger than this. Okay? Now here's the difference. Now he deals with an African clan and an Indo-European clan. And this is how their families were ran. So we'll come to this. He says the African clan was matrilineal. That does not mean everybody. Right? But for the most part, they were matrilineal, meaning the royal line went through the woman. And we can go with DNA and say mitochondrial DNA, which is the power cell, okay? And it feeds the rest of the cells. And it's passed on from woman to woman, right? That's not to say that the woman was first. I'm saying that man and woman came together. So now, this clan organization was formed by the mighty black men. They say, this is how we want our clan to be ran. And we'll run it off of the sisterhood, or run it through the sisterhood. And that's some good food out there right now. Right? Yeah. Them sisters put that together. That's not to say men can't cook, because I like to cook, right? But the sisterhood always run the marketplace. That's just what you do. And for the record, the most spiritual thing that I've seen since I came here was in the back when the brother Yasharel and them is putting that garden together for that food. Okay? So for brother right, spirituality has always been food, clothing, and shelter. So the brother got the food back there, and he got his shelter, and he got his clothing. That's the most African thing you can do. So let's recognize what real, true African spirituality at about a time period of 300,000 BCE was. It was based off our natural environment and how you navigate your natural environment. The brother just gave you a discourse, right, on how to defend yourself. If you cannot defend your food, clothing, and shelters, what do you have? Brother Kalanji, he killed y'all. Y'all had to replay that tape. Yes. You know, we got a lot of YouTube heroes back and forth talking crazy to each other. And when we all get together, we realize we just men wanting the same thing with different ideologies, right? So we come to the clans real quick, African clans, right? It said the religion, right, was ancestral worship, right? Funerary rites, burying the dead. From the Indo-European clan was formed by Nordic people, right? By Indo-European clan was formed by the men. But the men said that the men will control the clan. Very interesting how they would leave their woman out of the situation. And so when you disrespect the sisterhood, you're really acting like Indo-Europeans. You're really looking like the people who kidnapped us, because we was kidnapped victims. And I don't like to use the word slave, right? Because we were artisans, we were mathematicians, we were clothes makers, jewelry makers, farmers. We did all these things, but we was never a slave. And to show you and prove to you we were never slaves, we would be sitting right here if we had that slave mentality. Now, we would have went to church early in the morning and definitely wouldn't come here. Right? So this represents a growth of evolution. There's that word that everybody fights me on. They fight me on evolution. I'm going to tell you right now, the traditional African family, their whole premise was based off of evolution. And how things change, and how things transform, and how, wait, let me give you an example. We say we're the children of the sun. The Bible attests to it. It says Yah is the sun and the shield. Am I right or wrong, brother? Okay. The Quran also talks about the great light. There's only one light, the sun's. So everybody talks about the sun. And we say we're the children of the sun. Now, if you think we dove out the sun, fully clothed and landed on earth, well, you have to recognize the process of evolution. I see no problem with that. And people will fight me over that. We are evolved. Right now, we are evolving mentally. And we're wanting to transform our character because we'll stand up and holler and scream, Zimmerman, he murdered him. He killed them. That he did. But we'll always forget about the 3,000 black men and women that were murdered by black men and black women in that same year. It's time for personal accountability. Right? And it's our fault that we stay in this condition. It is no one else's responsibility. There is no God going to save you. That's why I say, I hit the brothers earlier with, I call it the Black African Power Test. Right? I say nature is undefeated. And do you know what the Black African Power Test is? The Black African Power Test says, okay, stand up on this table, cross your arms, right, and fall back. If your God grabs you, then you have converted me. If Yahweh grab you, I'll be that. Right? If Allah grab you, then I'll be that. If Jesus Christ grab you, I'll be that. But if nature, through gravity, make you fall and bust your head, then you must recognize, right, that nature's undefeated. And so now watch this. We go real fast here, right? We go to the rights of the woman. It said the husband has no rights over his wife and children. And the European clan says the husband has all the rights of life and death over the women and children. From an African context, all babies must be born. Now, I'm not saying you can't have birth control because we invented that. But all life must be born, and we do not determine when life is, because life is eternal. You have death, and you have birth. They're opposites. But life is eternal. And so we understand that the human family, black family, is the oldest institution on the planet. And it goes back at least 1.5 million years, and archaeology attests to that. So y'all get the book. It's called Archaeology for Dummies. Because like me, like the brother showed me, I don't pronounce all the words right. And I'm not super intelligent. But what I do like to do is get something like this. So you can understand and detail your history. You know why? Because the Europeans do. Fine. Let me show you what the Europeans do. They detail the black family. Watch this. In their books that you find in colleges, right? This is anthropology. That's the study of cultures. And in their books, they tell you, right, that the oldest culture on the planet are those that resided first in Mother Africa. No matter what you call her, the original people come from this area. Now, we might dispute the name, go back and forth, right? But since this is a family discussion, then I must tell you about the family before our customs and our traditions and our ideologies migrated and formulated fragments on the peripheral of African philosophical, voodoo, spiritual, mathematical, social structure, brotherhood, sisterhood, sciences, which later on became religions. And so we recognize the human family because there is only one human family, and that's us sitting in this room. And so we respect Brother Abbott because guess what he's doing? He tight with that law. And if you're going to be a family, you got to have some laws. And you got to understand where you stand and where you at. Brother Kalanji, he took out the spookism. He immediately said, just because you're on YouTube does not make you a leader. That's the truth. I do not sit in front of you as a leader. I sit in front of you as a teacher. I sit in front of you, bringing you the black family, which is the oldest institution. What am I saying? I'm saying is, if we are who we say we are, then it must be our fault that we're still here struggling. We give away $3.5 billion annually to the Koreans. You ask yourself, why is that? We got natural hair. We invented the thing called natural hair, right? We invented the wigs. They call them Nubian wigs. We invented the natural hair processes, right? We invented what they call them dealing with food, right? So we'll come here at 100,000 years, right? It's called Stone Age sorghum, found in African cave. Harvesting wild grains may have begun more than 100,000 years ago. So our families, before they was diversified, before they mutated, right, was dealing with farming and dealing with wheat and grains. You know how long that is? So the question is, why can't we feed ourselves? It's a very simple solution, and the brother did it back then. He's doing it. So y'all can talk about, I can't believe Trump is sitting up here with all them, I don't believe that. Really? He's doing the most spiritual thing we got right now. He's going to feed us. He's going to at least feed his group. And if I know if I'm hungry, I can come get some yams. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So we might fight a religion, and I'm going to say it right now, okay, and none of y'all beat me with that conversation, because I don't believe that shit. See, my life ain't going to be based off what I believe, right? It's going to be based off what I can know. Because basically the human mind works off of beliefs. It's very important for us to believe, okay? Because when you believe something, you don't miss nothing. I believe my child is really going to school. I believe my son is doing his work. So you use that pattern. But then once you walk towards that what you believe, you have faith to go up there and see the teacher. And you walk towards that teacher and you say, has my son been going to school? And the teacher say, not no, but hell no. Then you realize your belief was wrong, but your belief caused you to walk towards that what you believe. And now you know. So you no longer have to believe that your kid was going to school. You know it wasn't, and then you can deal with that issue. And so let's go back to the Sahara or the savannah about 200,000 years ago. And let's say grass on the savannah is moving. And so you run because you believe it's a wild animal in there. And you didn't have rifles, you didn't have guns. And so you ran. So you believed there was something in the high grass. Then you come back and say, it blew again. And you ran. And you kind of ran. You know how we kind of run? And you say, well, ain't nothing in that high grass. What you recognized was it was the wind blowing the high grass. But you had to believe it first because guess what? Sometimes there is the lions in the high grass. And for those who didn't believe stood there and got ate up by that lion that time. And so beliefs are very important to us. But we as a people, we can start to formulate and form our own ideas. Because really, when we talk about this thing we call God, and I know this ain't our thing, right? But God is the black family. So I'll come to you with this. I'll come with you with the oldest symbol of God. Watch how funny this is. I know this one of the white boy books. Y'all ain't got that white boy book. That's how y'all do it. Signs and symbols of premortal man. But guess who wrote the foreword? The great Dr. John Henry Clark. In this book, right, we got a symbol. Look at that symbol. Y'all see that? It's an axe. An axe. A axe. Right? An axe.
Hold on. Let's get it. People at home want to see.
The axes. And I'm telling you, no one on the stage can prove to me otherwise that the axe is not the oldest symbol for what the Africans call God, because it is. Right? Now, watch this. So I got the white boy book, now come with the black boy book. See, that's how I do it. You got to do both things because you got this group to say, that's white boy stuff. And you got people say, well, that's too much black stuff. So right here, we're going to do it. Charles Finch and the boys, the brothers. He says right here, he says that a Gillian age, a axe culture precedes Odovone from 1,150,000 years ago, found all over the world. So God does travel all over the world, if you know what it is. Watch this. And later used by Homo erectus and Homo sapiens sapiens. Whether you know it or not, we have different species of humans. You can say it ain't true, but you can go to the museums and see them bones. We represent Homo sapiens sapien, right? They walked upright. We represent the development of the frontal lobe that allows you to even begin to say that there is something bigger than us. So man created the ideas and concepts that became God. What's wrong with that? I thought it was a pretty good concept until we got conquered by religion. So watch this. The axe symbol. Why is the axe symbol God? Go ahead.
Because the original concept of God was primordial force, that which animates or puts things into being or motion. So the axe represented the most strongest form of force, also the ability for man to exercise retribution against somebody that violated his rules. So you had the axe culture to symbolize all that in one piece.
Brother, so if I stand up in church and say, they're going to say, he's an atheist.
That's right.
See, I tell you, see, I'm a real black atheist because I understand that. He's absolutely right. The axe represents your protection of your food, clothing, and shelter. You can chop down a tree and build a structure. You can throw it at somebody acting crazy, try to get your children. Ha-ha! Then you got that extension on it, you can get them real good. Ha-ha! Yeah, see? See, because it represents force and power, right? And later on, you find that axe symbol in ancient Kemet, and they call it the Necha. See? So, next form of God. So now you protected everything around you. Then you go on a hunt, and you hunting for 6 months or maybe 3 months, and you catch a little rabbit. You come back to the village, to the tribe, and you're starving. Bill got almost mangled by the lion, so he's limping. Tommy just mad, cussing and fussing. So you get back to the village, and you got the beautiful sisterhood. Rocking the drums. You smell the yams and greens cooking. You know what I mean? They got a whole feast, not even based off of meat. Interesting. And so you sit there, you eat. The women, because they are the first doctors, right? They apply certain medicinal herbs to the wounds. They heal you. They give you food and sustenance. They take care of your baby. Then at nighttime, they make love to you. You say, woo. 9 months later, you got something that look like you. You say, that's God. So one of the oldest representations of what they call God is these statues that you find all over the world. Right? So we get that. We understand that. And so if we're not God, since we made up the idea and concept of God, then what are we really talking about? We're talking about the black family before religion.
That's correct.
That don't make me right. That don't make me wrong. For real, I'm about to just stay in my lane and get out these brothers' way. Because they got a point when they say that in certain religions black people was there. Well, hell, don't right come from black people? If you go to Israel and go to 50,000 BCE, black people there. So the original people in Israel are black people. Can't nobody in any community challenge me on that. I said 50,000. Don't get crazy and say it was Israelite because it's white. Let's keep it straight. But I just want to let you know that even when we come to Saudi Arabia, they got something called the Nubian Complex. And the Nubian Complex is another complex of African people at about 75,000 years ago. And so I'm going to run through this real quick. You got early human use of marine resources and pigments. Wow. Marine resources and pigments at 190,000. I think they call the site PPB 13. Right? And that's when humanity was on the brink of going out. And these brothers and these sisters developed sort of a serious relationship with nature, right? And they recognized when the tide was coming, was leaving, and they ate shellfish, right? They developed certain pigments based off of certain ceremonies they developed. Like red ochre represented the woman in a menstrual cycle. They kind of went with the moon cycle. You know the moon affects the tides, right? And so when the tide is out, low tide, you get the food and the grubs. See how they harmonize that? It's very basic for me. If we don't do it, it won't get done. If Yasserel don't call us together, I don't know what you was thinking about. I know probably y'all did it for you, and I can't say you're wrong. But whatever you was thinking and reading made you recognize that all of us need to be in the same room so that the community can see that, you know what, at the end of the day, we just brothers. I ain't got to believe what he believe. I ain't got to believe what he believe. None of that, right? But at the end of the day, if we separate ourselves, we're done. Ain't enough of us. Think about that now. It ain't like there's a million people in this room. I concede to these brothers 10th century BC going in that direction. Y'all can have that. You can't say that black people's not there. Black people are everywhere. You can go to Russia right now and find a black person being some kind of religious guy, running it. So I'm not going to say that. But what I will say is, at some point in time, we need to start to develop brand new ideas and brand new concepts and brand new gods. You know what I propose right now? I propose an original symbol that states that we want that hair care business. Yeah, we'll make a nice statue up like that, put it together, right? And we'll start saying, dude, whenever you see this, this means don't give a Korean your money. And she'll be the goddess of the hair care industry. Wow. Because it's a symbol. And if you don't think symbols are important, try to run a stop sign. It's a symbol. If you don't think symbols are important, try reading your Bible without the symbols. So you know what? I just want to let y'all know, man, it's Black African Power because I love my people. I want to kind of cut it short. And, you know, I'm enjoying. You got a question? Real quick, go ahead. Go ahead, sis.
I got a question. I got to understand what you're saying, but the pyramids are built like this.
Yes.
Below the pyramids is a pyramid that goes like that, just like the Star of David, right? So what do people say about that? The pyramids actually looking like the Star of David.
I mean, that's very creative, and I like that. I mean, but a star is a sun. We're back to the sun.
She gonna repeat the question. Here you go.
Go ahead, sis.
The pyramids, one is face upwards, and the other, the bottom part of the pyramid is face downwards, like a Star of David. Mm-hmm. What do people say about that? And then the Ankh is like, the cross is like a half, a cheap version of the Ankh. Because where white men went entirely and chiseled it down to where it made it into just masculine and made it, instead of it being feminine and masculine, and made it to straight masculine. And we know that we need woman and man in order to create life.
Let's deal with the pyramids real fast. The pyramids is simply put an upside down vagina. Plain and simple. I mean, that's just, you can go to Dr. Ben's work and he talks about that. That's a symbol. That's a very important symbol, and if you don't think that reproduction is important, I tell you what, don't reproduce no more, you see where you go. You know, reproduction kind of pushes forward evolution. The change occurs in the womb. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think that when we deal with the Star of David, it's not something that's just an abstract symbol of the tribe of Israel or the people of Israel. I think it's something that deals with our biology. Specifically, if we look to understanding what separates us from everybody else, and we understand it's a carbon or melanin content, you look at the Star of David, you're looking at a star with six points to it, which is the same thing as the symbol for carbon on the atomic scale. You're looking at an atom with 6 electrons around it. And as we start to understand health a little better, especially some of the things I talk about, we'll understand how that actually plays out in the body. So when we look at the Bible specifically, the most important thing in the Bible is genealogy. So if we don't understand that the Bible is trying to convey us something specifically about a specific group of people dealing with genealogy, which if you read the Bible, the first thing you'll notice, you start going to sleep. Because it's such and such begat, such and such begat, such and such begat. So the Bible spends 70–80% of its time telling you genealogy. And a lot of times we skip over that. So I think the Star of David is a symbol of genealogy, biology, and specific targeting, or letting you know it's about a specific group of people. And then we talk about, obviously, the phallus and the vagina being a symbol of reproducing that people, our affinity for the planet, the sun, etc., and then our common enemy trying to separate us from those sciences, then we know who we are and what we got to do.
That's a good point.
That was a profound dissertation. I really
appreciate that.
And I agree with your overall conclusion.
I think you really surmised a whole bunch of different arguments and brought them into one.
the only question that I would ask, not to retract from the overall energy that you brought, is that sometimes we overlook how even a lot of anthropological methodologies are based on belief. Like, it's based on belief too. Like, we overlook that anthropology and archaeology has some religious notions, some belief notions in it, as well as religion do. And they're white supremacists, because the white people kind of, crafted some of these methodologies. So sometimes when we jump to the reference of our history from an anthropological or archaeological perspective, we kind of, we overlook our own authenticity. And I guess to try to simplify what I'm saying is that some of that is just as based on belief as religion is. Because I have to believe in these symbolisms. I have to deal with somebody else's interpretation of history, their perception of these artifacts, their ability to reference this stuff properly, and I got to put that all together and give it to you. And you got to believe that I'm giving it to you right. So it's the same type of belief system that you find in religion as well. So you can't disqualify one type of set of belief system for another. At some point, you got to really get rid of all the beliefs, whether they come from the perspective of evolution or anthropology or archaeology, all the white man's beliefs, and start to come up with our own. And that's when at that moment we become the real God, because we don't know what happened in history. It's all somebody else's perception and interpretation of something that's written on some walls, or but hopefully you can address that.
And he makes a good point. That's why I hit y'all with the bye-bye, right? Right. And science, one thing I do like about science, right? When you deal with the word chemic, you deal with chemistry, you're dealing with science. So when you're dealing with black people, you're dealing with the black scientists, plain and simple. And one thing about science that we can all agree with, it's not complete. So at some point you do have a belief in the science, like you said, right? But it is a point where you get to and say, okay, I understand what the daggone rock is. I get it. I understand that a certain percentage of our body is water. We don't have to believe that. We kind of must know that. We know that you cannot live without water. Okay, so that's the reality of the situation. And so we have black anthropologists. Remember Annie? She has a doctorate. She's an anthropologist. She's a black woman with an African state of mind looking at our records. Dr. Ben. He's an archaeologist. See, that's why I brought these books to show you that science is not relegated to white people. That's crazy. Matter of fact, the Germans went to Egypt digging up, right? And that really started their process. When you talk about evolution and Darwin, okay, he read the works of Al-Jahiz. Google it, the Book of Animals is when they first started talking about natural selection. When we talk about evolution is so African. It's so original at its core. It's what original society stood on. Evolution. The changing of the seasons, the changing of the game. Sometimes the game, the animal, the livestock might come through an area for 100 years straight, and then they stop coming. So you have to evolve and make that change. Weather patterns may change. They understood after watching the natural world for at least 300,000 years prior to anyone else on the planet, right? That things evolve and things change. If you need to go to the Body Museum. I think it's downtown. I suggest everybody go. What they have is a fetus. And they started out as a single cell organism, and they show you each step of it. And you see the different environments change. You see this whole picture played out in front of you, and you see things change and evolve. So that's not a European idea. That's what it is. Your DNA changes, things mutate. So I like to call us, I know we don't like this word, super niggas. Because we had the ability to go anywhere in the world and change and adapt to our environment. So now, this is what I'm really asking. What virus has been downloaded to us that we cannot change and evolve in America? What is it? And so some of y'all don't like Americans. I like being an African American because we built this. I'm not giving that away to them. We built every stone, the first rose, New Amsterdam, which is really New York. We built that. We built everything. We built the White House. We set it up like Egypt, on the Potomac, one side the graveyard, the other side the temples. We did that. We have a great history. Martin Luther King, I don't like him, but he shows you economics. See, I used to say I ain't like Martin until I really looked at it. I say, man, the white people Like, wow, they mess with the money now, Bill. Let them have them buses. Let them sit anywhere they want to sit. See, they make sure you sit anywhere you want to sit, because you might have said, I ain't needed your buses for a whole year. I ain't getting back on your buses. Exactly. See, that's what we should have did. See, this generation right here, we represent, we don't want to get back on your bus no more. I don't want to hang out with white people. Now, let's get this straight. I do not hate white people. I was with you till you said that. When you hate something or somebody, it only affects you. Right? Because I can hate all he said, and I'm mad sitting in this chair. He don't feel that. What he does feel is what the brother Fonzie talked about, was the actions. Our actions need to be detailed now. The things that we do need to be moving forward, evolutionary manner. And for all y'all so-called conscious community, I ain't seen it yet. You gotta have a building, so we'll say the conscious community starts right here, right? In this Hebrew brother spot that we claim don't got the right information. Or whatever information he got me sitting here, a real black atheist. I can't even talk to the community. Thunder and lightning gonna get you. When all I'm saying is, man, we got to start developing brand new ideas, concepts based on the things that's going on around us, man. We can't allow the drug dealers, we can't allow the homosexuality to run rampant. We can't allow none of these things. Oh, he didn't talk about homosexuality. Let's get this straight. I'm not saying that African people did not practice homosexuality. What I'm saying is, just for you guys, bro, right? What I'm saying is that they never deified the idea and the concept. So no matter what products you bring, you're never going to find a homosexual god Ra. Like Zeus and Ganymede. Ganymede is the water bearer, and he's a young boy, and he brings the water to Zeus in heaven naked. Pedophilia. Right? So I'm not the one to say what is right and wrong, but I'm saying at the core of our culture, that wasn't what we was doing. And we need to stand up and understand that. I'm not saying, well, treat a person this way because of their sexual orientation. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to allow you to push your way of life on me and tell me that I have to accept that behavior. I'm not accepting that behavior. That don't mean that I think you're crazy. Well, I might think, no, I ain't gonna say that. But what I'm saying is, we got to stop allowing people push us in directions that's counterproductive. Now, I could talk all day, but I want to defer to
you can.
Black African Power. Stop. Somebody should stop. I got a true blow.
You're slow, huh?
I got a true blow.
He been waiting a long time for that one, boy.
Oh, you seen the look on his face, right? No, this one for Joshua. Since the debate.
Now, this is for his boy, you know, redemption. The brother dropped a lot of information that was powerful that we can use, but also with the abstract or the concrete information he brought, don't ever believe that there ain't no spiritual existence. And I want you to really think that we are conscious people, and what makes us different is connecting to a higher entity, whatever you want to call it. In all forms, there are a creator and there's a God, even in Egyptology. So the concept of not being a God of those things of creation, if God is the one who you fall back into and catch you, that's not really the concept of God, you know. But we can play those games, you know what I mean? But what Ankh has done is a beautiful thing, because his concept is beautiful, but it's his own religion. Whether you believe it or not. So King Noble said it beautifully. If you believe in the carbon dating and all of that, to going back to 150,000 with the axe head and stuff like that, your religion is science. So you have a belief in something that is not even tangible. So when we pull away from something because we said somebody tell us that, you couldn't tell me where your grandmother buried. You couldn't tell me who you were. And that's part of the deception of a European man taking from you what was written down for you to connect and go back and establish to a higher essence and to a higher power. Right. So this is why we're here as brothers, and we're here sharing this information. And I'm not going to get into debate with this brother because that's not what it's about, but it's information.
Give me that mic.
His information.
Right now, his
information was solid.
We're going to stream it.
His information was very solid, and he don't want to do that again. But
I didn't debate you.
Yeah, he didn't call that a debate. All right, but yes, so we got a lot of information, and I want you to understand that when we speak the scriptures, we're not speaking no religion, we speaking science.